Right, I'm going to shoot from the hip tonight, or maybe even the lip. Hello and welcome to This Much Is True, my personal endeavour at getting a little podcast type thing together, which unfortunately is, it's pretty much all over the place at the moment, largely because of the work that I do. I'm just too busy. But a commitment is a commitment, and I said I'd be here for 90 days or so. Sorry if I'm slurping coffee, but I need some. Today is potluck, really, with what you get with me. I don't know if you are going to hang around, but I'd like to just speak my mind about a few things. Not a rant, though. I leave those to Ray. Hello, Ray. Hopefully Ray is watching me. At least he watches sometimes. And Ray and Nigel as well. Good old faithful. But I've had a bad day. Have you ever had one of those, where everything just frickin' goes wrong, and some of it might even be your own fault and you're loath to admit it? I was kind of wondering today, well, why are you getting your 60-year-old knickers in a knot? Because things on the business is, I took a bit of a hit today, but business is still good. It's very good. And I don't like taking hits, especially for stupid reasons. But I think the background to a lot of this is the weather. The weather's just so shit. It's appallingly dull and overcast. And one of those days that goes nowhere. It just is a day, largely gloomy looking day. Now, I do know, folks, it really is how you look at it. It really is. But sometimes it just overshadows everything you're doing. And you don't even realise it. You're going, why am I in... Get yourself together. Why am I in such a bad mood? It's the weather. It has a lot to do with it. Could be the eons. Is that what they're called? Eons in the water. Or, if you're out by the sea, you get positive ones on a sunny day. And just the atmospherics in general. So, I have a lot of voiceover projects even, on at the moment. I've lots of products as well. Lots of different voices. And today I lost one, which was like $500, it might have been $500 or €500. And it wasn't anything personal. The guy loves me and I love him. He's a great guy. But I told him I was going to be working on this Uber project, and he was cool with it. He said, Mark, you know me, I know you, start whenever you want. And this is about probably the 7th or 8th book I've narrated for him at this stage. And he's a lovely guy, but you know what's great in business? He is a payer. You basically deliver him the work and the money comes in straight away. Actually, to be fair with voiceover, that's one of the attractions. It doesn't always work that way though, if you're invoicing people. And he's just so super. And I have instincts in my head, and he was prepared to wait a good few weeks. There was no problem. And I was nearing the end of this Uber project that I have. And I said, I better keep him on side now and just let him know that I can probably start next week, beginning of the week after at worst. So I sent him a little email. And he came back with another little email a few hours later, because he's in the States. I said, oh, Mark, thanks for that. Look, it's no problem, man. Actually, dude, tell you what, put it on hold, because I'm after finding about 6 weeks in my own schedule now where I thought I'd be booked up. So I'll do it myself. You're okay, I'll do it. So $500 or whatever. It's not a lot, but it was instant. But it's, what is it? These days it's nearly a return flight from Ireland to New York. Or a couple of grocery runs. Don't like losing business. But there was that film years ago, Greed is Good. What was that guy? Gecko in Wall Street, the movie, played by the lovely, well, he's not so lovely these days, Michael something, is it? Yeah. Kurt. Who's his father? His father was a famous actor. Yeah, so Michael Douglas anyway. And was it Bert or Kurt was his father. Famous actor. It'll come to me. Anyway, yes, he had a line in that. Don't get emotional over stock. Do not get emotional over stock. So I keep saying, just don't get emotional. You know, it is what it is. Didn't help me today, though. Just hung over me. Then I had a client from hell. I'm not even go there with him. The thing is, he doesn't mean to be an awkward sod, but he is. He does. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing. And I don't care. I won't get into it. I'm not going to mix it with people. But I'm telling you, there are certain cultures, and they are bloody awkward to deal with. And this is a representative of that. It's always scrounging for the last penny off price. Always. Doesn't matter when you give them, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. He still wants more. And really, this time around as well, I wanted him out. I was saying, look, which is the truth. Too busy. You go get it somewhere else. There's no problem. Not at all. He likes what I do. So he kept ordering stuff. The other thing is these people, they go down to the last penny, all right? Then you will break your arse in delivering a good product. They rarely say thank you. Rarely say thank you. And it's not a big thing, but it would be nice if someone just said thanks. Like, I love my Americans, my English. Isn't it? It's just, I'm not digging a hole here. I'm just saying, that they're businesslike and they're grateful and they're human. Some of these other guys, they're just like human fucking calculators, and it's all about the money. It's all about the money, and it's all about give me best price, and it's all about never a word of thanks. And oh, Jesus. So these are shit spectacles, by the way. Tomorrow is a new day. I think I'll have an early bed tonight. Yeah, changing subject. So, the worst book I've ever read. You shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but sure, what the hell, we will. Sure, isn't he dead? But I want to be even-handed here. I think, with the exception of a woman who married a famous late DJ here she didn't marry him, she became his partner. There was a very famous disc jockey here called Jerry Ryan. He passed away in 2010. He had been involved in a relationship with a lady after his marriage broke down. And the lady, very quickly wrote a book about it. Wonder why. It's probably the worst book I ever read. I'll look in the camera and tell you that. I'm not going to name it. It's probably one of two books I wouldn't even give to charity. This was the other. Now, I'm sorry for our American cousins, but this guy will be certainly recognised by my British friends, Scottish and Welsh. The late Johnny Briggs. And he found his niche, which was playing this cool kind of businessman in his 40s at the time on the biggest soap opera in British television. One of them anyway, Coronation Street. Certainly the longest established. I mean, it's been going since 1960 or something like that. And for probably 30 or 40 years, our friend Johnny here held court. Very much to kind of fancied himself as a ladies' man. He's looking down someone's cleavage here. She's had a Coronation Street as well. Pompous. Jesus, I'm sorry, Johnny. I did enjoy your character. He used to play Mike Baldwin, right? I did enjoy that character, and he played it to perfection. The kind of go-getter, jet-setter, local businessman, made good, nice cars, nice suits, women on the go. On the face of it, he had all that. But his book was putrid. I thought it was shite because it was so self-aggrandizing. I did this and I did that and I told him where to go, and needless to say I had the last laugh. All that kind of piffle. And I want to be, as I said, even-handed here, because I thought I'd thrown that in the bin. It just looked at me from... It's like he's resurrected. I don't know how it got back. Maybe I had a second. Maybe I just felt sorry. I really thought that had gone in the bin. There's one scene where he was a jobbing kind of actor, and everyone has a local pub, and whatever one, he was in some seaside pub that he was like almost an honorary member of, and the barman stroke landlord, pub owner anyway, had ideas about himself and his establishment, and somebody had the temerity to walk in one day and not introduce themselves properly or ask for a lager or whatever, and the landlord, or whatever the fuck he's called, publican took exception and said, "Do you realise that you are among the great and good of acting here? How dare you walk in like a peasant off the street? Here we have such luminaries." And now this is Johnny relating this, right? "Here we have such luminaries as Peter O'Toole," and he named several other famous actors, and Johnny Briggs. And I'm kind of going, who the fuck is Johnny Briggs? So Peter O'Toole. Who's the guy that was in? Help me here. Who was the Lawrence? Not Lawrence of Arabia. That was Peter O'Toole. But it's that kind of day. I know who I'm talking about. It was that film he was in as well, Macintosh Man, where he played the Nazi dentist. Come on. Jeez, I'm going to have to do this. Sorry. You're going to have to bear with me. It wasn't Macintosh Man either, wasn't it? It was Marathon Man. That's how my brain rolls today. I know some of you are shouting at me as to who it is. Laurence Olivier, of course. That's me getting old. I used to have a memory that was pin sharp, I have to be honest. Maybe it's the statins I'm on. I wonder. I'm really dithering. And that was not like me. But then again, I just think it could be tiredness. So anyway. However, I want to be even-handed. And as I was flicking through, because I wanted to just, read some of it for you, but I'm going to save you that now. I saw there was an incident, and he related where his 15-year-old sister, he had just been demobbed from the army in 1955, and he came home and he had a hot date with a local girl, and he wanted to go to the cinema. And he did love his little sister, though, and she was 15. And she'd started a job early that day in a hairdresser's. And she'd slipped on a pile of hair and banged her head off a wash basin. And it hurt a bit, but she didn't think any more of it. And she wanted to go to the movie that night, like a kind of gooseberry, but he loved her so much that he said, look, she's going to tag along. He said to his girlfriend, she'll tag along to the movie. Is that okay? So it was fine. But when they were laughing her head off at the movie and all the rest of it, his sister says, look, I'll go home. It's okay, Johnny. I've got an awful headache. And she went home, and he got on with his date, came in late that night. His father said, your sister hasn't been too well. She's asleep on the couch. She said she had a bad head. He said, I know, she hit it earlier today. Anyway, overnight, the father knocked on his door and said, look, Johnny, I think she's unconscious now. And an ambulance was called. So she died of a brain hemorrhage. And it reminded me of someone I knew very well, someone I loved. He was a good man. I won't name him. He was a mentor. He was wonderful. And he got a bit drunk one night, and he related, and it wasn't to me, he told someone who told me, that when he was in his late teens or early 20s, he bought his baby sister, well, she was, 7 or 8. He bought his young sister. As a present, he got her roller skates. And she had great fun going up and down the hallway of the house in the roller skates, and she went into the front room and she banged her head off a mantelpiece and subsequently died. And that came out in him when he had a few drinks, because he never forgave himself. He blamed himself for that. And that must be, first of all, it's not his fault, but it's a terrible burden people place on themselves, and they castigate themselves and lambast themselves, and with guilt that really it's circumstantial. It's got nothing to. It wasn't his fault. He got the kid a present in, out of the goodness of his heart. But you would be amazed how people lacerate themselves over the years over incidents that have long happened and they had nothing to do with. Guilt and worry are the two most useless emotions that you'll find. While I'm on the subject of Coronation Street, I have to say, Ray, if you are listening, ha ha. See, Ray does this kind of ha 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 laugh. Ray, in the nicest possible way, and you can say this to Trish, you remind me of the character played by a guy called Peter Baldwin, the late Peter Baldwin. The character was Derek Wilton. Do you remember Derek Wilton? He was always in and out of sales jobs, a bit like myself. And nothing seemed to go right for him. But he had one love in his life, and that was Mavis. Mavis! And Derek was always kind of, even though he was a bit pompous. None of these things apply to you, Ray. He was a bit kind of pompous and full of himself and thought he was the best salesman in the world and what have you. But he was really this kind of sad character with delusions of grandeur. And he also had been a mummy's boy right up until she died. You know, he wouldn't marry until his mummy died because she told him that he wasn't to. And so he teamed up with Mavis. They were the perfect couple. There was always traumas facing them, and it was the way they handled it in a very old-fashioned way. But what I loved about Derek was he was the eternal optimist. He was always up to Mavis. This is going to make us a fortune. I remember one venture they had which failed was a thing called Envirosphere, which was supposedly some kind of a little sphere that would clean up the environment, like an air freshener type thing. And poor old Derek thought he was going to be a millionaire, and he got roped into this slick talking guru's outfit. Basically, it was a pyramid scheme, and Derek was up to his tits. In unsold Envirospheres, like the hallway was clogged with these things. What am I going to do, Mavis? And then poor old Derek, he passed of a heart attack. He had a road rage incident, and this was his character did. And his car, because he was into selling stationery, had a big paper clip on the top of it. Anyway, somebody pulled out in front of him, or whatever. Derek had an altercation and subsequently passed of a heart attack. Anyway. Oh, now you're not going to find this in your shop, but I love this book. And it was self-published. And I got talking to him once. And indeed, he contacted me there about a year or two ago as well. He's a lovely man, right? That's him. And his name is John Roseman. John had an amazing career. He's retired now in Italy, I think. And this book is about all the kind of people that he met on his rounds. So you can probably see there's some famous people. There's Rod Stewart, Annie Lennox, Mick Jagger, Bob Dylan, George Michael's in there at the back. I see that other guy there. Again, his name has gone out of my head. Famous journalist in England. But he had amazing twin career. Let me explain very quickly. So he was in the right place at the right time when it came to videos. He was involved in the filming of and producing and directing of Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, which was the ultimate rock video, the ultimate pop video, and it started the ball rolling. And because he was involved with that, out of the blue, Hollywood started calling. Now, he was based in England at the time, and he went over at the age of 28 to Hollywood, and suddenly, he was being introduced to Rod Stewart's agent. Rod wants to do a video, and then he'd go to the RCA headquarters or whatever. They didn't even know what videos were. But if we ever get one, we'll buy it off you, And he'd lugged up this ton of a machine to show the chairman of RCA what a video was and the potential of it. But anyway, when he was in Hollywood, he was getting calls from all kinds. He worked with the Bee Gees as well. I can think of there was a famous Canadian band as well. It'll come to me, not Bachman or Turner Overdrive. Who else was it? Just this amazing. Out of the blue, he just was getting these calls. So he did end up eventually working with Rod Stewart, who became like a friend. Seminal, really important videos he was involved in. With the Eurythmics, it was Here Comes the Rain Again. With Wham in the early infancy of Wham, they had a song called, he had Young Guns. I think he produced Young Guns and Bad Boys and Club Tropicana. And he was very impressed by George Michael. He thought George Michael, for his age, he was only in his very early 20s at the time, knew what he wanted and wasn't going to take jip from any adult as to what way his career was going to go. He was an old soul. So John was very impressed with him. What else can I tell you about him? Because there's so much. He became, through accident or by design or happenstance or all these different words that you can think of, he ended up being an agent for some of the top TV talent in England. And he represented loads of famous people, like the types you would see on breakfast or shows in the morning television. So in his stable, he had the likes of Kate Garraway, who people would know, and so many more. I mean, there's just Nick Ferrari, David Banks, Kelvin MacKenzie. These are all people that he'd either represent or... Anne Diamond, she was a famous TV presenter. Lord Lichfield. Oh my God, it's just a who's who of showbiz. Bill Wyman and Mandy. Bill Wyman, one of the Rolling Stones. Here's him in his hippie days. And that's him getting married in the platform shoes. Experienced a bit of anti-Semitism as well in the very early days. He did, and he writes beautifully and eloquently about that and what it felt like to be young and to be put upon in school and stuff. He was also the agent for Jill Dando, who was killed, who was murdered. Nobody ever found out who. In fact, I saw on Netflix, he appeared there recently. He was being interviewed about that whole situation. It was really ironic because he considers himself first and foremost a writer, and I don't disagree with him, having read his book. But he'd been writing about an agent who kills his clients. So just at the moment that one of his clients was murdered, the police actually interviewed him about it, found totally innocent. Of course, it had nothing to do with it. But yeah, I got talking to him, and he was such an interesting man, such a really nice guy. And oh yeah, I know what he said. He said to me, I said to him, what's so and so like, or what's she like, or what's he like? And because he had stories about everybody. And he said to me, what people don't realize is I don't know what a lot of them are like, now apart from the people he ended up representing. I don't know these famous pop stars and stuff. Why? Because generally, Mark, he said, I'm parachuted in there for a week or two at the most. We shoot a video, and I'm out of there. I really don't get to interface with them. He also told me, he said, well, some of them are such a pain in the arse. He said, but what you realise in their defence is that quite a lot of people that I would work with on those videos have never, ever had anybody say no to them in decades. So they were like laws unto themselves. Some were well behaved, some were appallingly just ill-disciplined and unprofessional and insulting. So look, I'm going to give it a plug. You'll probably still get it. I don't believe you'll get it in shops. You'll certainly get it online. If you love showbiz, From Here to Obscurity by John Roseman. Do you know, I was in Italy and I was close by where he lived, and I thought, will I, won't I? And when I got back to Ireland, I was in touch, and he said, Mark, you should have come over. I would have loved that. He said we could have gone to dinner. You know, he was just such a... I'm going to go. Bye. Sorry about today. It's a bit all over the place, but take care because I care.